Deep Meditation with Bodhisattva Sri Swami Premodaya, recorded live in Los Angeles. The Gratitude Attitude.
So it's odd that we have this holiday in this country that's specific to this country, Thanksgiving. It's very strange because there's no evidence of any real thankfulness. The holiday comes from the Pilgrim times. They were truly thankful. They had to be. They couldn't not be sincere because their thankfulness was about not having died under the harsh conditions of horribly inclement weather and nowhere near enough food for the season. If not for the Indians, they would have died. The Indians came to their rescue. So maybe for a season or two there was real thankfulness. But that's clearly just hokum at this point. Turkey's good, though. It's an eating holiday now. Now, that's not a soapbox speech, it's just a comment on how interesting it is because real thankfulness, genuine appreciation, is appreciation for the gift of life and is no less than the actual spiritual path. There is no living spiritual tradition, no real spiritual path that isn't about, at its core, at its end point, the development of true thankfulness inside you every single moment. It becomes automatic. It becomes like breathing. No other stance is possible. No other attitude can march ahead of it. And the synonym for it, once it's experienced in its full force, is humility. A bone-crushing kind of humility, not some false humbleness, but really seeing in the proper perspective, seeing that we're all just a grain of sand. It's crushing to see that fully for the first time. The ego really shatters because you recognize that you've been deluding yourself for a lifetime that you're something, when it turns out you're a grain of sand. But that's at one and the same time as the tremendous gratitude, the tremendous thankfulness, that even as a grain of sand, you are given all this. You're allowed all this. You're even allowed to be a grain of sand. Turns out it's a gift. So it isn't that gratitude has to be expressed, or gratitude has to be lived, or appreciation has to be shown, or devotion has to be cultivated. It's literally that you become that. It's literally that you breathe it in and out with every breath. It's literally that the expression becomes you. So enter tonight's meditation with that in mind. See if, just for this hour, you can close your eyes and fall inside and cultivate, find, feel that humility that is really, it turns out, intrinsic, natural to the human being. Deep down, everybody knows their natural proportion. Everybody knows they're like a grain of sand. Deep down, there's a natural core humility that it doesn't matter how deluded or grandiose a person gets, it's in there. So see if you can fall into that tonight. Not because it's the day before Thanksgiving, but because that's the natural seat the human is supposed to be sitting in. And anywhere we sit different from that just means we're in the wrong place. We accidentally sat in the wrong seat. So find the humbleness, the humility in the face of the vastness of the all and the everything. Find it in you. And sit there. Meditate there. Fall into that place and taste it. Experience what it really is to sit in humility. Countless stars, unmeasurable space, planets beyond counting. Who knows how many universes, how many worlds, how many realities out there. Vastness beyond what any human mind could even try to comprehend. eternity stretching endlessly, infinity with no beginning and no end. How can there be any stance other than our complete and utter humility in the face of that mystery? Now, expressing whatever gratitude is there, expressing whatever humility is felt, is productive only in the sense that it helps you be in that space. Otherwise, the expression of it isn't really needed. It's the living of it that's needed, the feeling of it. But for us fallible humans, expressing it, saying it, writing it, thinking it, helps us be there. So to that degree, it's useful. But in and of itself, the expression has no real purpose other than the expression of an overflowing heart. Because really, it can't be expressed. You'll know it's the ultimate gratitude when you find that no expression adequately says it for you. No word or phrase or even paragraph captures it. Then you'll know this is real gratitude. Because it'll feel so inadequate to say anything. Nothing that is based in actual truth can ever be said. At best, it can be hinted at with words, suggested, but never said, never expressed. Real expression of gratitude, real expression of overwhelming humility is always in silence. The expression is always a silent expression, literally emanating from your being. And people feel it. Certainly you felt it from yourself or for someone else at some moment in your life. Maybe often, maybe rarely, but certainly you must have felt it. So don't have a misunderstanding that you just haven't found the right words. The right words can't be found. But you can more and more allow yourself to emanate the feeling in you. So you become the expression, your very being, what you emanate, what energy you give off, what you transmit, becomes the expression. And it's another way of expressing love. It's a specific form of love. It's the more divine nature of love. Love as gratitude. Love as humility. Not asking for anything. not grasping for anything, just emanating, just endlessly giving, pulsing, flowing. Call it the divine condition. I've thought for quite a long time now, and have never said this publicly before, that it's only possible to express two things. Only two statements are possible, and everything we ever say is a form of one or the other. The first one is I love you. The second one is I'm sorry. I've been observing it for a few years now, and I've yet to say or hear anything that can't be categorized as a form of one of those statements. So really every expression, everything we say in words, is to one degree or another an indulgence, in one sense or another not necessary. And everything that's ever said in any language, for any reason, if we wanted to, could simply be said as either I love you, or even shortened to just love, or I'm sorry, even shortened to just sorry. And then there's a meta category. Both of those could be seen as expressions of gratitude, interpreted as expressions of gratefulness, of humility. So if you agree with that analysis in any way, shape, or form, it turns out that we're never saying anything to anyone under any circumstances except as an expression of gratitude or humility, no matter how twisted from its original meaning, no matter how far away from what's really meant to be said. It's traceable back to those meanings. At least that's my observation. And if you accept any part of that, then it's really quite amazing. Really, absolutely amazing. That that's really all that's going on. We really just swing back and forth between gratitude and indulgence. And indulgence is always self-indulgence. And gratitude is always selfless gratitude. So oddly enough, there's the unlooked for explanation of everything in life. The only possibility. Selfless gratitude or self-focused indulgence. More or less, one or the other. And that's apparently the human circumstance. How close are we to one or the other in any given moment? The high road and the low road. The self-aggrandizing or the self-surrendering. It's amazing. All the same thing. All these words, all these expressions, all these explanations, all for the same simple thing. It's very strange when you think about it. If you really meditate on it, it becomes very strange. You start to feel, what am I even doing? If it's true in any way, then what am I even doing most of the time? But we're strange creatures, doing strange things. And our minds don't want to see that reality is actually, in many ways, quite simple. Am I moving toward selfishness? Or am I moving toward selflessness in this moment? In any circumstance, in any given thing that's happening that includes us. Such a simple question, such a simple dimension to operate on. Too simple for the mind, not complicated enough to capture our interest. We'd rather analyze, we'd rather ponder deeply. We'd rather come up with important answers to significant questions. But the simple truth is it's all a question of how close are we to gratitude and humility, or how far away? Are we saying, I love you, or are we saying, I'm sorry? Which one are we saying more often? If it's I'm sorry, then we must be falling more into selfishness more often. If it's I love you, then we must be somehow finding selflessness more often. These are not complicated analyses. But to my way of thinking, they are the best analyses. They'll take you to the truth, including the truth of right living, much quicker than any more complex thinking. So in this moment, are you moving closer to I love you, or hovering more towards I'm sorry? In this moment, are you grateful to be breathing and not dead? Or is there some kind of self-focused sense of being preoccupied with other things? This can always be looked at, any moment, without any great effort. Where am I in that dimension, on that continuum? This is the whole measure of spiritual progress. Complicated philosophies and religions and spiritual volumes written, millions of pages, and it all boils down to that question. All just methods to get to that question. It's amazing. Gratitude is more than a feeling. It's like the molecules of your body. It's not an emotion. Real gratitude is more like molecules that comprise you. And yes, it starts as a feeling. It feels like an emotion. You felt it in a lesser form for other reasons in other ways. But if it's to transform you, if it's to be spiritual gratitude, divine love, then it's more like the molecules of your body. You feel it in a different way. You feel it deep in you, not as just a feeling. And perhaps you felt this, either for a moment or even many times or for long periods. So anytime that experience is there, I really encourage you to give yourself fully to it, to let it expand in you, to give yourself to it as fully as you can whenever it appears. It's the highest inspiration. It's the highest possible expression of spiritual depth. Just the experiencing of it opens you, expands you, evolves you, transforms you, connects you. So this is why these semi-hypocritical, puny expressions like the holiday Thanksgiving sometimes feel to me like an offense, because we miss the opportunity for real Thanksgiving, because it cheapens the real gratitude that's possible for everyone. Everyone who says, I'm searching for truth. Everyone who says, I want realization. Everyone who says, I want God in my life. is saying, whether they know it or not, that they want to travel to gratitude. They want gratitude to take over their life. And usually we don't know that that's where it ends. That's where it ends up. We think where it ends up is in some kind of higher consciousness, that we know something more, understand something more about existence, operate on some kind of higher level. And whether that's the case or not, we end up at humility and gratitude. That's the higher level. Then there's real, genuine thankfulness for a piece of bread. Then there's real, true humility at being able to walk and talk. Then hearing a symphony inside you brings you to your knees. Then the everyday becomes magical, mystical. Then the unknown penetrates all the way. And you find yourself living more in the beyond than right here in this world. Because that's where this world is. Smack dab in the middle of the beyond. And only gratitude, only humility let you see that fully. It's a circle because gratitude and humility take you there. And when you get there, you're given more gratitude and humility. It just expands. And then real prayer is possible, which is just the ceaseless experience of gratitude. Then it doesn't even occur to ask for anything. The only feeling is to involuntarily say thank you for everything. Then anything is enough. Then everything is enough. Then whatever's wrong is just part of what's right. Then whatever you don't like doesn't matter anymore. Then truth is more important than you are. And oddly enough, it does help to act as if. So until it's true of you, and until it's more true with every breath, it actually does help to remember and to act as if. And if real humility comes to you, it will always be accompanied by gratitude. And if real gratitude rises up in you, it will always include genuine humility. So that's the measure of that. To know if the gratitude is real, check if humility came with it. To know if the humility is real, check if it includes deep gratitude. Because false humility is possible, and non-genuine gratitude is possible. We're complex enough that it's possible. But it's easy to check if it's real. Gratitude and humility are the actual coins of the spiritual realm. No other coinage buys you anything in that realm. But gratitude and humility buy you everything. That's the exchange the divine is asking for. Anything you let go of, anything you become unattached to, disidentified from, allows more space for gratitude and riper conditions for humility. Detachment's not an end in itself. It has no ultimate purpose. It just creates better conditions for gratitude and humility. The selfish part of that is complete and real detachment, non-attachment, means an end to real suffering. Because how can there be suffering if you're not attached to anything? But if you really look deeply into that, that's the selfish goal. I want to not suffer anymore. Nothing wrong with it. It works as a fantastic motivator. And people reach a life of non-suffering. But it's not the end. That's only the selfish part. The selfless part is when you're taken over by gratitude and humility. Then it's not about whether you suffer or don't suffer. It's about the vastness and greatness that is. And then you're not quite so worried whether you're going to suffer tomorrow more or less. because then it's possible to be grateful for whatever comes. Because all of it is recognized as a gift, an undeserved, unasked for gift. Really, ultimately, you never asked for anything except just not to suffer. That's how humble human beings really are. All we ask is, please release me from this suffering. It's a very humble request. And totally possible for any sincere heart. But many don't want to get that sincere, so they don't get close to it. But many do. But all I'm trying to point out is there's stages beyond that that have nothing to do with anything personal, anything individual, anything that can be categorized as only of this lifetime. You can go so much higher, so much further. And every sincere heart is capable of that. That's what we mean by beyond self. Beyond the beyond. So really get it. As you meditate on this now, really get it that you are absolutely capable of that. If you're in this room or listening to this on CD, you're absolutely capable of all of that. Otherwise, you couldn't hear any of this. It would all make no sense to you. You'd say, that man's crazy. What's he talking about? It literally wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't compute for you. So if it computes at all, it absolutely and only means it's possible for you. Not you generic, any you specifically. Because it's not possible for anyone. It's only possible for those who've come far enough down the road that they can hear this. So it doesn't matter if you're 6 or 16 or 66. If you can hear this at all, then it's possible for you. It's not a question of what's come before. It's only a question of, can you hear this? And if you can, and certainly you can, then really you should be very thankful, very grateful that such grace has come to your life, to you, of all people. How is it even possible? And yet, it's true. This is more important than whether you're rich or poor. This is more important than whether you're healthy or sick. This is more important than whether your future is bright or bleak. This is what's really important. This is what matters. This is the profound. Turns out it's not abstract. It's about how is this life being experienced right now, in this body, in this place, in this moment, as this me. That's not abstract at all. That's your lifeblood. That's your very breath. It's real. It pulses. It radiates out with every heartbeat. And all of it's been given to you. You didn't buy it in a store. You didn't ask for it and then it got delivered. You came with it. Pre-given. Unbidden, pre-given. Gifted. Gifted to you. When you consider that, it starts to make sense why gratitude is the basic coin of the realm. So start to see gratitude and humility not as nice human virtues, not as desirable traits or qualities to be developed because they have some intrinsic benefit and make you a nicer person. Certainly they will. But it's much more significant than that. It's the very fabric of reality. It's the very breath of the divine. Start to see gratitude and humility as the highest possibilities. As the stones the path is made out of. And the day can come for you when every single day is a greater gratitude than the day before. And when that day comes, and every life you touch and existence itself become grateful for you. Then anywhere you look, the benediction. Then everything that is, the divine blessing. Let that day come for you.